Hello, hello, hello. I wanted to I want to share something real with you today as I'm sitting here in my office in Anchorage, Alaska, with the sun behind me. I'm looking out to see it's almost 40 degrees in February. And I have a lot of fear in my body today. I have a lot of fear in my body today. And instead of waiting for the fear to pass, I decided to show up anyways. I decided to show up anyways and share this story with you. I'm taking you back to 2 years sober. I was 30, almost 33 years old. I was a top producer in sales, radio, radio sales here in Anchorage. And I had just bought my very first home. I was single and I had my very first mortgage. And from the outside, things looked like I had my act together. I was really good at sort of convincing the outside world that everything looked good. Inside, there was some stuff going on. And I believe that I had one of the first of so many in my all 27 plus years of sobriety spiritual experiences. I, through a series of events and people that I knew in the community, ended up going to Bali on a trip by myself. And it, the spiritual experience, it wasn't flashy, it wasn't dramatic. It was it was deep down, and I knew from the top of my head to my tippy toes that there was going to be a change. And so I had hired a driver. I'll just go into the story a little bit. I had hired a driver who lived in Bali, and we had this sort of odd communication. He would ask me a lot of questions and try to figure out what I was saying, and we had the difference in language. And we got to know each other quite well. And he even took me to recovery meetings, and he was very curious about where I was going, and I would run into people that I knew from these meetings. It was really, really pretty cool. And so there was this temple that I was told to go visit, Uluwatu. That's the name of the temple. And I'm looking at the photo. I'll show it to you here in a minute. And so I was at the temple, and you have to, I think I had a, yeah, I did. I had a sarong around me, and um, I had my camera. So it was back in the day before cell phones. And there were monkeys everywhere. And I was told to be cautious of the monkeys because they were known to bite. And of course, they came up to me. And so I'm walking down this pathway, and no idea what I was going to experience. And I'm walking down this pathway, and then I find the edge of the cliff right on the ocean. And so I sit down, and the sun was setting. I can see it in the photo. I don't remember that at the time, but I see it in the photo. So the sun was setting, and I was sitting there, and it's something came across me and moved me, and I started crying, and I couldn't stop crying. And the tears were just flowing out of me. I was soaked from the tears. I couldn't stop crying. And I knew that was the beginning of some big, huge change in my life. I had no idea what. I knew that I could not go back and do what I was doing for a career. And I remember I got into the car, and bless my driver's heart, he thought somebody had attacked me or something, and he was ready to go beat somebody up. because I was shaking and I was soaked from crying. And I tried to explain a spiritual experience. It was really hard. And it took me right back to right here, right now with him. Um, because it was just really, it was too hard to explain it to him, but I tried the best that I could. And so I got back to Anchorage, and my uh, friend was my sales manager. And I sat down with her and I said, I can't do this job anymore. And she said, oh, you go through this all the time. You'll be fine. You'll bounce back. Everything will be fine. Give it a couple days, a couple weeks, you're fine. And I said, no, no, you've got to listen to me. I was sitting across the desk from her. I said, you've got to listen to me. I know from my core being that I can't do this job anymore. And I had to sort of unsell her all my sales techniques. I had to unsell her why I couldn't do it anymore and convince her that I couldn't. And once she got it, she was like, oh my gosh, you can't do this anymore. But what are you going to do? She was so concerned and worried about me. I had no big plan. I had no safety net. I believe it was in the day when I used credit card for a down payment on my house. I know, I know. It's funny. God's got a sense of humor because I married a finance guy. I knew from my core that I had to trust God and that God, higher power, God, whatever I was believing in at the time was going to guide me to exactly where I was going to be of maximum service. It didn't happen overnight. Um, I don't recommend that kind of leap for every single person. It's not about abandoning responsibility. It was about listening when something deep inside of you is asking for your attention. And that's what it was for me. Within 24 hours, I had another job lined up in the community, and I was making about a half or less the money. And that job, that career guided me into creating my very first business. So it was very helpful. It was a community uh, development director. And so I got to meet a lot of people in the community, and it encouraged and opened doors in my heart for me to move forward with creating my first business almost 25 years ago. So it did work. It wasn't instant. Money didn't fall from the sky to help me like pivot into business. I had to do another job for a little while. And faith guided me to exactly where I needed to be. It was from that first big, huge leap, which I believe I've had many in my life, like getting on with the airlines when I was 19 and moving from my parents' house to Boston. Like I took many leaps, but I believe this was the very first guided spiritual experience that I had. It guided me to to my purpose, which is being sober and helping other women in recovery. My work, which I help predominantly women to get really clear about the next step that their inner voice is telling them. And it helped build on the next chapters that were to come after that. And so if you're listening to this and you're feeling afraid, I hope that it is encouraging to listen and to know that if you trust one step at a time, you can get to exactly where your inner voice, where God wants you to be of maximum service, no matter what age you are. And so I've created these things throughout the year. And currently, I have a clarity circle with a group of women, and it's we meet on another platform off of Facebook. And from there, I've created, like I did last year, many 30-day resets. And so I've got a clarity reset coming up. It's a 30-day reset. And I love doing it because I love attracting women that, first and foremost, want to be around other women that are seeking not to be fixed, not for another program, not for another 10-month like coaching program. They're seeking a community of like-minded women, and they're wanting to go deep and to plan out that next step. It might be a different season. And what's interesting as I do this for me is today I am in fear again because for me it is a different season. And it's a different reason that I'm doing the reset than even 6 months ago. And it's the same invitation. The clarity circle, the simple 30-day reset that's going to start in a couple of weeks is, again, not to fix anyone, because I don't believe that we're broken, that we were ever broken. It's about slowing down, listening to that voice that we all have, that inner voice that really wants to be heard, and learning to take that one honest step forward. Again, no matter where you are in life. Maybe you're retired and you're just kind of feeling like, I know there's something more. Maybe it's volunteering. Maybe it's, I don't know. You know, if you're having a calling, you know. For me, it appears as I get irritable, I get restless, I have trouble sitting still, I sleep a lot, I want to eat a lot of carbs. For you, it could look different. And so, again, it's not about feeling the need to be fixed. It's about coming together as a community. And if you're here watching this and you're scared, fear often shows up exactly at the right time. The teacher appears exactly at the right time sometimes. And so if you're watching this and you've got fear, it's not a coincidence. You don't need this whole huge map, this 1 year, 5 year, 10-year plan. Those are great. Not putting those down. That next step, that next right step for you. Trusting that next step. So there you go. That is my story for the day. I don't know about you, but I feel a whole lot better. If you're watching this in February or whenever you're watching this, you can click on the show notes. It'll guide you to my website, Journeys in Sight, and chances are there'll be a reset that you can join or that you can get on a wait list for, because I really love doing them. I love seeing the camaraderie and the change that happens within those communities. I hope you're having a great day. Oh, I want to show you this photo of me in Bali. I promised you. There I am on the cliff before the tears started gushing. And there's monkeys up there in the temple, like right up in there. I hope my story of Uluwatu and Bali inspired you to listen to your inner voice that truly wants to guide you to amazing, beautiful goodness.